Hey everybody, Team Moy Reacts here, back for another video. So, I'm going down the list, right? I'm going down the list of all the songs you guys recommended in the comments. And I'm doing a great job of making sure they're in order because somebody that requested something 3 weeks ago should get it first. It's getting tricky now because I guess I released a certain combinations of songs that made all of the renegades come together and be like, well, if you like these songs this way, you'll love this. So now there's heavy pushes for Englishmen in New York, and there's heavy pushes for Swan Song. And I know they're coming, but I have to, like, Kenneth Bartlett requested this a while ago. And Kenneth Bartlett has been here from the beginning. So I am going through the list in order. So I know there's a big push, and there's a I know that there's yeah, I guess there's a big push of people wanting me to react to certain songs, and I will get those, but I do have to go in order. Big push pun for the win. I really need to get better at this. All right, guys, we're gonna watch Story of Eden Ren.
Time, the story of Adam and Eve. It starts with a God who wanted more.
All right. I do nightly Bible study. Let's go, Ren.
Let me tell you a story as old as time, the story of Adam and Eve. It starts with a God who wanted more. God had just created the heavens and the earth. He had the angels by his side, but they had no will of their own. And so the autonomy to love or reject him was never theirs. All but for one. The once called bringer of light.
Morning Star.
Lucifer.
See Hero's Tunnel right behind him?
Get your money,
That
Ren.
thing makes $12,000 a month on Amazon. And this right here is
Morning Star. Once called bringer of light. Lucifer, Morning Star. Lucifer was the fairest and most intelligent of all the angels. He was the closest thing to God's image, and in his likeliness, Lucifer felt restless. He began to question and doubt God. He doubted the hierarchy imposed upon him. He felt God was arrogant. In his frustration, Lucifer built a throne that stood even above God's and declared mutiny.
Is this the story of Eden from a different perspective? Is that what I'm about to watch? That is fascinating. That is fascinating. I think there's a book by Anne Rice. Is Anne Rice the one that did Interview with a Vampire? If so, there's a book, I want to say it's like Interview with Mistopheles or something like that, where it's the same concept, but it was an interview with Lucifer and his perspective on why he disagreed, and also why God coming down to sacrifice himself at the beginning wasn't fair, because he wasn't giving anything up knowing that he was safe, right? So it was a really interesting draw, and he said, well, you got to do something bigger, and God said, all right, I'll send my son. And it was just it was a conversation about what happened in the Bible, but from the other perspective. Now it's funny, as a Christian, it's very tricky because I am interested in things like this, because it tells me a lot about the person who wrote it, right? And curiosity about God in the Bible is a fantastic thing to have, right? And if there's things that you don't understand and there's things that you disagree with, it's not bad. It's great, because as long as you if you say it's crap and you put it to the side and you never start to investigate, then it's just over. But if you say that's crap and then you start to investigate, you might not find the answer that you want for what you're looking for, but you will unlock a bunch of things within the words of the Bible and the verses of the Bible. So if this is the story of Eden through Morningstar's point of view, I'm here for it. I find this extremely interesting. I don't think it's blasphemous. I don't think that it's wrong to do. I think it is. I think intellectually and spiritually, it's a great way to find yourself and find your relationship to a higher power. Not necessarily my higher power, but anything, any higher power. It's not bad to have. If you can find faith in anything, I recommend that over not having something higher. It's not my God or none. It is find something that's bigger. And if this is an exploratory song about the other side, the flip side of mankind, I'm totally here for it. I really enjoy stuff like this.
They had no will of their own, and so the autonomy to love or reject him was never theirs. All but for one, the once called bringer of light, Lucifer, morning star. Lucifer was the fairest and most intelligent of all the angels. He was the closest thing to God's image, and in his likeliness, Lucifer felt restless. He began to question and doubt God. He doubted the hierarchy opposed upon him. He felt God was arrogant. In his frustration, Lucifer built a throne that stood even above God's and declared mutiny.
Wow.
A war ensued. God, being all-powerful, came out the victor and banished Lucifer from the heavens and exiled him to earth.
Yeah.
Once again, God was alone with his power. Perhaps from loneliness, perhaps from curiosity, perhaps from a desire to share love, God began to work on his greatest project yet, a being that would mirror himself, the human, two humans specifically, Adam and Eve. They were placed inside a paradise built...
Oh, just audibly when he adds that second layer on certain... He's so good. Listen, he's making a cartoon right now, and it's fantastic. Oh, guy could do everything.
Perhaps from curiosity, perhaps from a desire to share love, God began to work on his greatest project yet, a being that would mirror himself, the human, two humans specifically, Adam and Eve. They were placed inside a paradise built for them on earth, the Garden of Eden. In the garden, God placed a tree that bared fruit that would grant anyone who ate it powers bestowed only to a God.
It sounds
to
so
tell
good.
Good from evil, left from right, to live righteously or to sin. He named this the tree of knowledge. God told Adam and Eve they could eat whatever they wanted in the garden, but never the fruit from the tree of knowledge. And if they disobeyed him, it would be punishable by death. The basic way the story of Eden is told is that Eve was tempted by Lucifer in the form of a serpent to eat a fruit from the tree of knowledge. Convinced, she bit the fruit, she passed it to Adam, and he did the same. Suddenly, ultimate knowledge filled their minds, and they realized they were naked and felt shame. God discovered this betrayal and felt anger. He exiled Adam and Eve and cursed them with the life of a mortal.
Yeah.
They would work, they would bear children, and they would die. The fate of a human. Now look deeper.
In the story, the serpent tempted me by telling me I would...
What is happening? I'm so excited for this. But you see my confusion, right? I've been jamming out with Big Push. I've been rocking out with Ren. And it's like Eden. Yes, he's going to rap about Eden. But he doesn't. He makes an anime. And it's terrific. Oh, if Ren did after school specials when I was growing up, I'd be a lot smarter than I am now.
Adam and Eve and cursed them with the life of a mortal. They would work, they would bear children, and they would die. The fate of a human.
Yeah.
Now look deeper.
In the story, the serpent tempted me by telling me I would gain ultimate knowledge and that God would spare me.
Both were true.
This wasn't some great deception, meaning that Satan, in the likeliness of God, perhaps understood his intentions. In fact,
The only lie uttered in the
Garden of Eden was
by God, who did not end up
condemning
Adam and Eve to death.
death.
This could be seen as an act of
Mercy, but the sheer fact that the tree existed and that humans
were initially cut off from this knowledge.
may imply some part of God was afraid. that if humans were granted the gift of perception, they, like Lucifer, would have the power to reject him too. The fact that there stood a beautiful tree that could
grant this knowledge in the first place
implies that a small part of
God, supposedly all-knowing,
perhaps wanted and intended
the humans to bite
too.
In the Bible, Satan was an exiled angel of free will. Humans are exiled
descendants of Adam and Eve,
also with free will. Not only have we shared a similar fate to the devil, we were also both constructed in the
were
image of
also
our
both
Creator.
constructed in the image of our Creator.
Meaning our behaviors, in some shape or form, imperfectly.
Have you guys listened to this in headphones? If you've just seen it without headphones, I highly recommend you watching it again with a good set of headphones or $12 headphones. I prefer $12 headphones. But it's great what it's doing. It's almost, when I don't take my meds, there are moments often that there's auditory hallucinations, and this replicates it. It gives me chills. It replicates it because sometimes it feels like it's coming from your throat, the sound. Sometimes it feels like it's coming from behind you. Sometimes it feels like it's coming from your nasal cavity. And this kind of replicates that kind of auditory chaos where it's talking to you in different angles and different locations. The sound engineering on the song is brilliant. So if you haven't seen it with headphones, get headphones. This is going to be the longest video ever because I'm going to go back. I have to go back.
Were initially cut off from this knowledge.
May imply some part of God was afraid
Yeah.
that if humans were granted the gift of perception, they, like Lucifer, would have the power to reject him too. The fact that there stood a beautiful tree that could
grant this knowledge in the first place
implies that a small part of
God, supposedly all-knowing,
perhaps wanted and intended
the humans to bite
too.
In the Bible, Satan was an exiled angel of free will. Humans are exiled
descendants of Adam and Eve,
also with free will. Not only have we shared a similar fate to the devil, we were also both constructed in the
were
image of
also
our
both
Creator.
constructed in the image of our Creator.
Meaning our behaviors, in some shape or form, imperfectly echo his.
We could assume that this kind of
God has his doubts, but as the most
powerful
Being in the universe
he has no one above him
to turn to with questions, and no one to
Doubt but himself, an incredibly lonely and isolating existence.
We must only assume that the common thread between God, Lucifer, and us is the desire for more, an eternal curiosity, a desire perhaps birthed from a seed of loneliness. If not, why would we exist in the first place? The constantly looping bittersweet irony is whether gifted by some omnipotent God or simply a byproduct of billions of years of evolution, here we stand in 2023 as creatures with free will, the only creatures that understand and define good from bad, creatures with the potential of a God. And what do we do with that free will, my friend?
Horrible things.
We willingly walk to the edge of a cliff. In the name of progress, we jump off the precipice. The empires we build ravage the earth. The natural order of things are necessary to survive. Any systems which do not honor homeostasis eventually perish. Our free will overrides our own biological instinct. We can take more than we eat. We can kill more than we need. We can willingly create weapons with the potential to burn everything we've built to the ground. We willingly decide to bow at the altar of greed, the most insidious and destructive of all sins. We put our faith in corporations who pose as rulers. We willingly allow ourselves to be led by outdated power systems ran by corrupted politicians
and bloated dictators who claim domain and dominion over an open and free land.
We willingly elect the corrupted when the decision was always ours to build something better. We willingly create and impose separation because of beliefs that we are force-fed through our phones and television sets. We always had.
This is insane. This is insane. Now, I'm going to say how much I agree with this video. I am going to say that, but I do need to preface that with the counter idea of God's intention with the tree of knowledge and humans that was presented at the beginning, I find extremely interesting. It's not something I believe. I don't believe that there was ill intent with disciplining Adam and Eve, because he wasn't punishing. It sounds like a punishment, but I think it was more discipline. He did promise them death, and the death would be at the end of their lives, right? So I have my view on that. That being said, the points that he's making in this video are so well done. I can totally understand, and I struggled very much with my religion at the beginning, because the entire Old Testament doesn't talk about me. I'm not from the tribes of Israel. I'm not one of the chosen. I'm the one that God promised the Jewish people he would kill for them to be benefited, right? So the whole Old Testament I have problems with. It wasn't until I read the red letters and I started to follow the words of Jesus that I realized that the laws of Moses, all the Leviticus and all of the you can't do this and that, it's stated by Jesus. I am the one that Moses spoke of. So the fact that he came, all the red letters, all the teachings of loving everyone and lifting each other up and holding them close and having something to believe in, right? Because you need something to believe in, something to do, and someone to be with, right? So so Christianity, that way, Jesus is good, but I understand the dark flip side of an old world God and an Old Testament God, and Eden is dealing with an Old Testament God, and I struggled with a lot of the Old Testament. I still do. In fact, I consider the Old Testament to not be my Christianity. It's the Torah. Essentially, it's a different religion, and it was made for different people. And me being a Christian is a follower of Christ. So the points that he's making here, I'm not offended, because these are great ideas to think about. These are great ideas to explore, not to disprove that there's God, but to prove to yourself what your relationship with him could be. So this is fantastic. But I will say, everything that he's saying, the elected officials and everything like that, I agree completely, 100%. So the video, I agree with. That little part about the maliciousness of God, I don't follow that thinking, but I love the fact that he's bringing it up and he's presenting it. It's important. It's extremely important. It's important for people who claim to have strong faith or do have strong faith. Songs like this are great to listen to. It is, in my opinion, the weak Christians that say, why get tempted? My strength in God has made me strong, so I can watch counter perspectives and grow from it and learn from it and make me dive deeper into my faith and into my readings and into me listening to my spiritual leaders, my pastor at church, stuff like that. It's important. Any Christian that said you shouldn't listen to this, they're not living their life right. You should listen to things like this. It's great to explore. It's great for the mind. And most importantly, it's great for the heart. And if anyone understands that, it's Ren. Ren's pen does not slip, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Nothing is by accident. And I'm sure he writes a song and goes over it forwards, backwards, and from the middle out, and makes sure that everything is wound together like the screenplay for Chinatown, which is the best screenplay in the history of Hollywood. Well done, Ren. I'm floored. I'm sorry I just went on a tangent there. It's important. What he's saying is crazy important. Bear with me. You guys knew I was going to do this. You guys knew in the comments section I was going to pause and talk like this. It gets me going. He gets people talking. He's like a really good scone. You got to try this scone. Anyway, how's your...
Cliff. In the name of progress, we jump off the precipice. The empires we build ravage the earth.
Right.
The natural order of things are necessary to survive. Any systems which do not honor homeostasis eventually perish. Our free will overrides our own biological instinct. We can take more than we eat. We can kill more than we need. We can willingly create weapons with the potential to burn everything we've built to the ground. We willingly decide to bow at the altar of greed, the most insidious and destructive of all sins. We put our faith in corporations who pose as rulers. We willingly allow ourselves to be led by outdated power systems ran by corrupted politicians
and bloated dictators who claim domain and dominion over an open and free land.
We willingly elect the corrupted when the decision was always ours to build something better. We willingly create and impose separation because of beliefs that we are force-fed through our phones and television sets. We always had the will to reject these things, but we adhere to them as though they were the laws of physics. War, famine, pestilence, greed, these aren't things imposed upon us by an all-powerful God or by his demonic adversary.
Right.
They are here because of us.
Right.
Not because of free will, but because of our inability to use it. We must be motivated to be better, not out of fear of punishment of an eternal damnation, but because the choice exists, because we love ourselves, because we have the power to absolve ourselves of so much unnecessary suffering.
Right.
Take a second to be in this very moment.
Yes. Absolutely important. You do it because it's right. You do it. You don't do it because you're promised something. In my introduction to religion, I went 40 years without it. 40 years, never introduced to me. We used to sit in a place on Easter Sunday, and we only did that for about 6 years of my life growing up. And I struggled with it. You know, if all of this is happening to me, then it's your fault, right? If you are real, it's your fault. That's what I thought. And Ren just pointed out, it's not the case. We're not, all these bad things in the world aren't happening to us because of God. It's happening to us because we were given free will, and with that came greed. With that came want. With that came excess. Once we started farming and we discovered what surplus was, right? When we realized that not only do we have enough to eat today, we have enough to eat for the next 3 days, well, then let's just get more. And it's true. It's just this snowball. I was told that, say I don't believe in God, but I want to, right? There's some people that just can't feel it. They explore it, they sit there, they read, and it just doesn't grab them. And it's not our fault. I'm one of those. It's not our fault that we don't get touched and filled with the Spirit like everyone's saying. It makes us think it's probably not happening to them, but it's a Christian thing to do, to feel like you're filled with the Holy Spirit. There's all these questions that happens and comes along with it. But I was told, say you go to church, say you learn to be kind to everyone, say you give your free time to help out and volunteer, say you do everything that Jesus tells us to do in the Bible. Say you do all those things and there's no heaven, right? So you get done with your life and you don't go to heaven because it's not real. Say that happens. You still lived an amazing life just by utilizing the guidelines. You create friendships that you never would. You would learn who to trust and learn who not to trust. You would be a part of something, a community. You would never feel as alone as you did earlier in your life or when you were still searching. Amazing things happen just from trying and doing the right thing. So like he's saying, don't be a good person because you think that heaven is waiting for you. I believe heaven is waiting for me. But if I'm mistaken, I think, given the opportunity, I would be proud of the man I became, proud of who I am as a father figure, and how I am as a husband, as a friend, as a neighbor, as a member of the community. What is wrong with that? Do right because you have the free will to do so. Just like Ren's saying, when I get to heaven, that will be the best bonus. That'll be the biggest perk. But getting into heaven doesn't drive me to be a good person. Being like Christ is what drives me to be a good person. Because based on the guideline, it's just the right thing to do.
They are here because of us, not because of free will, but because of our inability to use it. We must be motivated to be better, not out of fear of punishment of an eternal damnation, but because the choice exists, because we love ourselves,
right,
because we have the power to absolve ourselves of so much unnecessary suffering. Take a second to be in this very moment. In this moment, how much suffering is happening all over the planet right now? How many people are dying of illnesses that could have easily been cured, but aren't because of the selfishness and greediness of humanity? How many people break their backs and reject their own passions to simply afford bills and food? How many of us crave distraction from existence? How many of us numb that pain in whatever way necessary? How many children are being abused? How many people sleep cold and hungry on the streets? How many of us become cogs inside a machine that is destroying itself? How many soldiers have been forced to fight in meaningless wars? How many humans have killed for ideals they don't believe in or understand? How many people have died for the greed of another man? And how much of this was avoidable? As written in the Bible, Satan was not condemned to hell. Satan was condemned to earth. He lives there amongst other creatures with free will, who always had the choice and still chose their own undoing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our self-made hell. The bittersweet irony is this is a creation of our own design. I'll leave you with this. Consider what you have done here today. You have worked together as individuals collaborating to form a giant neural network, a hive mind capable of achieving incredible things. We have lent on each other's strengths to solve puzzles and decipher riddles.
Victus!
And we've done so to win money. Imagine applying that same spirit and determination to creating the closest thing we have to paradise here on Earth. By using the power of collaboration, we can work together to even the playing field for everybody. Our dystopias can become utopias. Our Jahannams can become Jannah. Our hells can become heaven, right here on Earth. And this sentiment applies to atheists, agnostics, and believers alike.
Right.
Myself, I'm an agnostic who believes. I believe in us. We must do better because we can choose to. We must be better simply because the option exists. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. You guys. Sheesh. That's fantastic. I'm floored. This surprise and shock almost rivals Violet's tale. The difference being Violet's tale waited for the last moment to flip that switch. What Eden did was confuse me for the first minute, 2 minutes while I wait for the beat to drop. And that's not where it went. And then my goosebumps and my interest and my heart started pounding and my brain started firing. Because a lot of these things that he's saying, I've thought about. I've discussed them, and I've not discussed them. I was embarrassed, right? I was embarrassed to doubt because I thought that I wasn't allowed to, and that's not true. You're allowed to doubt. You're allowed to doubt your faith. You are, because it gives you an opportunity to explore and to attach. Love your neighbor. Do the volunteer work. Get together as a community. Help out people you wouldn't. Talk to people you wouldn't. Don't live a life that's so secluded that you can go run errands at 6 different locations, get all the way home, and realize that you didn't talk to a single person. Self-checkout. You never waved or nodded your head at a stranger that was passing you in the store. Eye contact. None of this happens anymore. But if you just get out there, you can help a lot of people. And like he says, we're all connected, and it spreads like wildfire. I'm a completely different person than I was a decade ago, right? And most people say everyone is. I was destructive, not just to myself, but to the world around me. I wanted everything to hurt as much as I did. And once I stopped being selfish and started focusing on what was firing incorrectly inside of me, I changed. Not only did I change, I love the person that I am, right? It's everything I was as a kid. I took a 30-year break in between to who I was as a kid, and to be that genuine at 41. I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate. It's a great feeling. But that spreads. He was talking about being connected, everyone being connected. That spreads. I'm a very happy person now. And I've met nothing but happy people. What I put out, I'm getting back in return. And those people that I just get along with, they see how well I'm doing. They know that I attribute it to my faith. And it spreads. Maybe not the faith spreads, but how you conduct yourself in life, that spreads. And that is the perfect fire. It's the perfect fire. Not all fire is destructive. State of California lights itself on fire so that wildfires don't happen. It's a controlled burn. And that's what spreading that joy and happiness can be. It's a controlled burn to stop the negative destruction and the destructive behavior. Fantastic. Ren, if I would have known it was this, then I would have just made a podcast episode or something. I'm just rambling. This is great. Thank you guys again. Thank you always. A 30-minute video for Eden. It's your fault. It's not my fault. This is not my fault. I did not know it was 30 minutes. Blame Ren.